If you've ever played Yokai Watch, Snartle has definitely terrorized you more than once. No one expects you to actually beat him at the beginning of the game. But what if you started the game with Snartle? What if you started with a level 99 Snartle? What if you did all of this before getting Jabanya? Well, that's exactly what I did, and here's how it affected my entire playthrough. First of all, how is this even possible? If you didn't know, in Yokai Watch 1, there's a way to exploit the Yokai Cam for rewards, such as Holy EXP Orbs. The game quickly provides you with access to this feature, which allows you to do some pretty wonky stuff. I was able to use this feature to level up a Kadabble, which I used to defeat and befriend Snartle. After about a half hour, I leveled him up to level 99 using this exploit. I won't go over how to perform the exploit, but there are many tutorials for that purpose. I wanted to prepare myself for how easy the challenge might be, so I limited myself to some rules. First of all, everything must be recorded on camera after I get the Snartle, except for anything that requires grinding. Second of all, the Crankakai is not allowed for the main story. Third, I may not use the Yokai Cam to level up any more Yokai once I get my level 99 Snartle. Fourth of all, I am allowed to use the high level Kadabble I used to get Snartle. Finally, this is not a speedrun, as the following footage was recorded over multiple days. The run begins as I am required to befriend 3 more yokai. Yeah, this is how early into the game I am, with the stupidly overpowered Snartle. I quickly befriend a Cough and another Kaden. Whisper rambles on about a strong yokai aura, leading us to meet Jubanyan. I skip the cutscene to save time, and we have to fight Rough Raft to retrieve the photo of Amy. Unsurprisingly, we beat him with ease. Then Detective Holdit shows up and tries to enlist me in his police force, and we return the photo to Jubanyan. With Jubanyan befriended, we return home to fight Dismeralda, who surprisingly withstood one of Snartle's attacks. I befriended Dismeralda, concluding this chapter. I was somewhat excited to do this chapter, mainly because it meant testing out Snartle and a boss. Anyway, before I fought Slimemander, I had to help Katie with her friendship issues and befriended Tattletale. This shady corporate man leads us to all the seals, which meant a battle with Tangloom, Machismo, and Peckpocket. Before I fought Slimemander, I actually wanted to test Snartle's strength, so I fought, you guessed it, Snartle. You can probably guess the outcome of that battle. Also, why does defeating Snartle hardly give any EXP? It's a hard fight. I mean, even at rank E, players deserve more than 22 EXP. Now it was time for the first boss, Slimemander. He has this gimmick where he hides his weak spot, which is his eye, across his 3 heads. This means you can't damage him until you reveal the eye. As you can see, Snartle's regular attack on its own destroyed half of Slimemander's HP. The fight was incredibly underwhelming as expected, but it was intriguing to see how powerful Snartle was. With Slimemander defeated, well, for now, I managed to finish the chapter. Since one of the most infamous Yokai Watch bosses was coming up, the game forces you to upgrade your Yokai Watch to rank D. After changing my team up a bit, I headed over to Blossom Heights, where Mr. Goodsight sent me on some errands. Getting the watch screw was no problem. However, when I went to the old mansion, my deteriorating brain cells couldn't comprehend how to get Baku, so what did I do? I left the mansion. Yeah, I didn't plan out the run as well as I could have, but I wasn't gonna waste time, so I got the watch spring. I returned to the old mansion, where I finally locked in and swiftly defeated Baku. Now came the parts I was excited for, fighting Sproink and attempting to fight Gargaros. Terror time quickly happened as I stepped outside, and this time, I let Gargaros charge into me. The battle began. Boohoo died immediately. No problem. Not like Boohoo ever stood a chance. Snartle and Kadabble get some hits in. Snartle tanks some attacks of Gargaros. Kadabble falls. Not so good. My second strongest yokai down in a heart. Well, I still had Snartle, right? Not for long. Did I ever mention to you that I had basically no healing items? Well, right about now would be a good time, I suppose. Like any other player, I was no match for a Gargaros. But you know, it's fine and all. What I needed to see was some Sprunk action. I went through Terror Time for the second time and made my way to the hot springs. Unfortunately, Sprink left me quite disappointed. Snartle was, in fact, so overpowered that this battle required zero effort or skill. I beat him in a matter of a minute, and with our watch upgraded, it was time for the next chapter. The chapter starts off with Bear's parents and their failing marriage, which I happily skipped. There's nothing extremely notable about this chapter though. I befriended Wakappa and went to Mount Wildwood to fight SV Snaggerjack. As you can guess, the fight was a cakewalk, but I'll admit, Snaggerjack held up through many of the attacks. This also isn't much of a notable chapter, but it is crucial to getting the bike. At this point, I was sick of running everywhere to do stuff, so I was actually quite eager to finally get this bike. I headed over to Sunshine Station to go get the papers, unlocking downtown Springdale, which would definitely help for things later in this video. You have to make it to the office without a single Wazat reaching you. I've never messed up this part before, but I screwed it up twice. I honestly don't even know how this is possible. Anyway, I got the papers to the office and we got the bike. Here we are, one of the more tedious chapters in the game. I wasn't super excited for this chapter, as it meant upgrading to rank C, which would take a little while. Reluctantly, I made my way to Mr. Goodsight, who told me to defeat 3 yokai: Signable, Suspicione, and Tantroni. Luckily, they're all located in downtown Springdale. Honestly, do I even need to tell you how each battle went? Once all the yokai were defeated, I made my way back to Timers and More to upgrade my watch. I traversed through the city back to the construction site where I automatically befriended Komo-san, who would prove to be a very useful addition to my team later on. As I was sneaking around the construction site, I met my worst enemy, this plank. I knew I was probably going to slip off of it if I ran, so I slowly but surely slithered my way to the other side. Now it was time to fight Masiphase. The fight was easy, but it definitely made me realize how underleveled my team would be during every boss. So I planned to grind a little bit once I made it to the yokai world. Once Masiphase was defeated, the chapter came to a conclusion. I decided to wrap up filming for the day, as it was getting quite late. With this chapter came the requirement of getting to rank B. Luckily, I actually remembered this time and didn't bother going to Eddie's house yet. After a quick change in my team, I actually encountered a yokai criminal of all things. It was Bogusus, as I had set the date in late 2016 to actually perform the exploit. I caught him and beat him, of course, but then I spent a while trying to find Detective Hold It. I gave up on that, but I did come back later to claim my reward. Anyway, I had to fight Tangloom, Flumpy, and Mad Mountain to upgrade the watch. It was a breeze, though definitely time-consuming. I went to Eddie's house with my new rank B watch, and I unlocked the watch rank door thingy. We headed to the museum, checking things out, typical stuff. One thing I never understood about this chapter is why it's realistic that 2 children break into a museum and hack the laser security system, but then again, they did just teleport with fictional beings, so I can't be too critical. After Eddie and I do some illegal activities, we enter the vault where we fight Phantasmarine. The bosses were actually starting to tank my attacks, so this was making me concerned that Snartle wouldn't be enough pretty soon. Regardless, I wrapped things up, and now it's time for the next chapter. Yippee. Can you tell how excited I am? I never really liked this chapter. I don't know why, even. Maybe it's that god-awful spider creature that I despise, or maybe it's something smaller. I mean, the whole chapter is you running around the school talking to yokai and retrieving items leading up to the inevitable boss. Conceptually, it's similar to a lot of other chapters in the story, and hey, maybe it's just me, but something is different. Tarantutor was fine, but he actually defeated one of my yokai. This felt like a wake-up call that I actually needed to either get better yokai or level them up. Either way, it would be quite tedious. Remember how I said Snartle wouldn't be enough? Or the rant about a wake-up call, the thing I said 20 seconds ago? Well, I decided I should start getting a new yokai, Shogunyan. You see, in this chapter, all the yokai required to summon Shogunyan will be readily available, so I decided to start some progress on Shogunyan. There were 5 yokai left that I needed to befriend. Lochismo, Lidoni, Castilius III, Happy Air, and Draghi. Lochismo was up first. I tried searching for him in Springdale Elementary at night, but then I remembered this wasn't Yokai Watch 2, so I had to pause and do some research. Eventually, I found a spot by the fish place in Uptown Springdale where I could find him, so I fought him, soft reset, and repeated. I acquired him soon after. Next up, Leodoni. I missed out on my chance to buy candy apples at the summer festival in Chapter 9, so I had to resort to 10-cent gum and gooey candy. I thought he would still be easy to befriend, but it took me several attempts to get him. Castilius III was next on the list. I headed over to the hot springs to get his favorite food, milk, biked to the construction site, and the hunt began. He was much harder to get than Leodoni, but I ended up getting him after a little while. The next 2 yokai were by far the hardest to befriend, even though Draghi is an automatic befriend. Happy Air is found in downtown Springdale with a relatively low chance of appearing. I brought some bread with me, but it wasn't enough. I spent 40 minutes soft resetting and fighting endless Happy Airs. Here, just take a look at this clip of me trying to befriend him. I did finally get him, leaving Draghi the last one to befriend. You might wonder why Draghi was one of the hardest if he is an automatic befriend. Well, that's because when you meet him at Shoten Temple, he refuses to do anything unless you give him a regular sawtooth stag. I spent forever searching for one in Mount Wildwood before I found out I was doing it wrong. Here's a tip. If you ever have to get a sawtooth stag, go to Mount Wildwood at night and go up the path past the pond and search there. Funny enough, I got a rare sawtooth stag before a regular one. I didn't bother going to Draghi because he doesn't even want a rare one. I had to do this off camera because of how long it was taking me. I finally got the sawtooth stag and was over to Shoten Temple in an instant, slamming that stupid bug into this lizard's jaw. At least I wish I could. I handed over the bug. Once he befriended me, I summoned Shogunyan. With Shogunyan on my team, I was confident as ever as I strode to Nocturne Hospital. I was met with a watchlock. With my energy destroyed, I went back to Timers and More, where Goodsight tasked me with defeating Benkei, Quaken, and Allhail. These guys were tough, not in the sense that I couldn't beat them, but if it wasn't for Snartle, my entire team would have fallen. Once I was able to unlock the watchlock, I headed into Nocturne Hospital to fight Dr. Mattyman. I expected him to be hard, but he was relatively easy compared to my expectations. The fight was great EXP for Shogunyan, who was only level 11 before the battle. I was extremely excited for this chapter. It's always been fun going through the yokai world, even if it's a little repetitive at times. But more importantly, this meant we could befriend and use Venoct, who would come in handy. Venoct stood no chance against Snartle, and I quickly dragged him onto my team. Gargaros was the first Oni to judge me. I had completed an astounding 3 quests. Yeah, he sent me down to Hungry Pass pretty quick. This was one part I was dreading though. I really didn't want to play hide and seek with Grub Snatch, but I had no choice. After around 9 minutes of playing, he finally gave up. Ogreless was easy enough to get through. All you have to do is answer his question right, so that was a no-brainer. Arcanos, however, was pretty judgy. 50 battles, not so bad, but I was sent down to Hooligan Road. Luckily, you can leave immediately, so that's just what I did. Before I fought McCracken, I found some yokai to level up a bit. Then it was time for McCracken. I targeted his hands as soon as I started the battle. McCracken got some attacks in, but I obliterated his hands. He didn't spirit Snartle, so I had to purify him. After a little while, he started charging up his ultimate. I was a little concerned, but I actually managed to cancel it. He was already very low, so with Venoc's Octosnake, McCracken was defeated. For now, that is. Upon returning to the human world, we had to fight Slimemander once and for all. Unlike the first time, the Slimemander was strong, which forced me to use my healing items. I finished him off with Snartle. With Slimemander down, all I had left was 3 yokai and 1 boss to defeat in order to finish the game. Impasse, Roland, and Bruff were relatively easy, only leveling me up further for the final boss. After stocking up on items, I felt ready to take on McCracken's second form. I encountered him in Mount Wildwood by the Sacred Tree, and for this battle, I'll let you watch. Finally, after around 4 hours and 36 minutes, I finished the game. So, final verdict? A level 99 Snartle definitely makes the whole game easier. It might seem tedious and tiring, but this is faster than an average playthrough, and again, I wasn't speedrunning the game.